The hybrid returns to the Civic, and we're going to break down how this powertrain stacks up, not only in the Honda lineup, but more importantly, against its key rivals like the Prius, the Corolla hybrid. I'm actually reviewing the Corolla hybrid this week. Stay tuned for that review. And check out my review on the Prius Prime that just finished up this past week as well. So I'm right in the thick of it, testing its rivals right now, and I'm excited to test out this Civic hybrid in the near future. But I wanted to address something real quick on my video. One of you guys, PSI Joe, says the K20C engine is being retired. Now, I'm not going to take this as gospel quite yet, but he's saying there were some leaked documents in Canada a while back saying that the K20C, the 2-liter on the base models, the non-hybrid models, is being replaced by the hybrid engine. And if we look at that hybrid engine, at least in hybrid configuration, this LFB engine is what it is. It's likely to have 143 horsepower and 129 pound-feet of torque. However, they could tune it differently, but that's down 14 horsepower or so and down about 9 pound-feet of torque compared to the K20C2 engine. So I guess stay tuned for more information when it comes to these base engines, or should I say the new base engine. Something I didn't really tackle a whole lot in the previous video was, what do we expect for pricing? But we need to talk about the trim levels. So the sedan gets the LX, which is the base trim level here. The base trim level for the hatchback is the Sport. That's the second trim level of the sedan. And these two models only come with that new, in theory, that new 2-liter updated engine and no longer a manual, right? That was one of the big takeaways. There's no manual transmission unless it's on the new SI. I'm supposed to get new information on the SI later this year, so stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, all the turbos are gone, all the manuals are gone, but the hybrids are taking the king position. So if we look at the current 2024 models, the EX is completely gone and the Touring is gone. They call it the Sport Touring now. So how this will look, this is Acura LX and Sport, then it will be Sport Hybrid here instead of the EX, and then it'll be Sport Touring instead of the Touring model. And so we're getting a nice 20 horsepower upgrade here from this trim level, but we don't know exactly how much the price is going to raise. After destination here, which destination is about $1,100, we're looking at a $28,000 potential starting point for the hybrid. If you missed my reviews on the new Camry, it is unbelievably good. Some of you guys just call it a refresh, but after driving it, it is so much better than the old Camry on every aspect. The braking, the handling, the acceleration, the fuel economy, the refinement, the materials, etc. And I mentioned the ride quality is a lot better. This starts around $28,400 after destination. Let's just call it like $30,000. So the new Civic not only competes with these traditional competitors, but also the base Camry now as well. Now the Camry can run all the way up to over $40,000 if you get every single option on it in the XLE and XSE, and that's where it competes a little bit more with the Accord too. But we're gonna put the Camry hybrid up here. After putting in the Camry here, I could put the Accord as well. To me, I would not be going with the Accord at this point unless you need a ton of space. The Accord is ugly in my opinion. It's a great car, it's super smooth. If you can get a good deal on it, go for it. But the new Camry's better. Watch my review on, or my video comparison comparing the Camry, the new Camry versus the Accord. The Camry is a lot better overall in my opinion. Okay, take that however you want. So I like the Civic so much better than the Accord. Not only does it look better, it handles better. It's a better package overall. It's not enormous. The new Accord feels like just a boat. And the Camry doesn't feel like that. It feels a hair bigger than the Civic. It feels a lot bigger than the Corolla and the Prius, but smaller than the Camry and a lot smaller than, at least in feels, compared to the Accord. Here we have the Civic Hybrid. It is surprising to me that it got 200 horsepower because over in Europe it was only getting 181 horsepower. Maybe due to emissions regulations over there, they have to crimp back the total power output. Not quite sure. Or they put a bigger electric motor in it, Regardless, we have 232 pound-feet of torque. If we look at the Accord hybrid, it has 204 horsepower and I think 246 pound-feet of torque. So it's a smaller car, it's a more nimble car, and you're not really giving up anything in terms of power and torque. 0 to 60, I'm estimating around 6.3 seconds. It's electric car fast, at least from a stop. The main issue with Honda's hybrids, and that's probably, honestly, I think that's why they're generating a next generation hybrid powertrain, not only because they sell well right now, there's huge profit on hybrids, but Honda's weakness with their hybrids is not the smoothness. They're the smoothest in the game. Up there with the new Camry's powertrain, by the way. They're insanely smooth. They're quieter than the Toyota hybrids. Their issue is that when you need on-demand power once you're already going 45, 50 miles an hour, it's just not there. You have to wait for the engine to hit high revs to feed the generator to get electric power to the electric motor. So there's a delayed process where the Toyotas, their engines can be linked directly to the wheels at any speed. Honda's hybrids can only be linked to the wheels mainly at high highway speeds. So if you're not going high speeds, on-demand power is just not there unless you're at a stop. So that is not going to be a deal breaker for a lot of people, but hopefully after driving the new Civic Hybrid, maybe they've been able to fix that, but I'm not going to get my hopes up. That's just been Honda's Achilles heel with their hybrids. They do everything else really, really well on them. Also, the Civic Hybrid, as of yet, no all-wheel drive. We know Honda's next-gen hybrids coming out in 2026 will have all-wheel drive with an e-axle in the back. The Camry already has that. The Prius already has that. The Corolla already has that. The Elantra, we're waiting on Hyundai's next-gen hybrids to see that sort of technology too. In the meantime, if you need all-wheel drive and you want a hybrid on a sedan or a hatchback, Toyota's pretty much the only option right now. We don't know fuel economy numbers quite yet, but 48 to 50 miles per gallon, probably, well, the Sport, actually all these models are going to have probably 19-inch wheels now that I'm thinking about it. It would be nice if we had a base hybrid with 16, 17-inch wheels like the Camry LE. Camry LE has like 17-inch wheels, I think, and they look a bit goofy, but man, do they ride really nice, really cushy. The Corolla hybrid I'm riding right now, driving in, I think it has 16, 17-inch wheels. It's a super cushy ride compared to the Prius Prime with the 19s I was in last week. The Corolla hybrid is just a smoother feeling vehicle. It doesn't handle as well as the Prius. It's not nearly as quick as a Prius. But the fuel economy, wait for that because I'm really excited to share the fuel economy on the new Toyota hybrid system, 5th generation on the Corolla hybrid. I saw 66 miles per gallon on the 4th generation Corolla hybrid. The new one has more power. So they've tuned it a little bit more power for more power, not necessarily efficiency on the new one. So I'm excited to see if this number changes on the Corolla hybrid. Something that Honda's crushing it here is they're giving you the option of a hatchback or sedan. The Corolla, as of right now, is only sedan hybrid in the United States. You could say the Prius is the hatchback version, right? With a bigger engine and a lot more horsepower, 60 more horsepower. So I feel like the Civic hatchback is going to be competing directly against the Prius hatchback, but the Civic has a lot better usability of space compared to the Prius. The Prius has better looks. That's also subjective. And the Prius has optional all-wheel drive on that. But yeah, the Civic still is the best handling hybrid amongst all of these. I'd say the Elantra and the Camry are behind that. And then the Prius behind that. And then probably the Corolla in last place here. But the Corolla still handles quite well. Don't sleep on it because it is a very lightweight car. All sedans handle inherently pretty well. It's just that the Civic has this really direct connection to the wheels through the steering. And the Elantra comes close, but the Civic just feels more refined, more ironed out. It's a fantastic driving car. I also think the Civic Hybrid is probably going to be the quietest amongst its competitors. And with 40% of all Civics once it's rolled out being hybrid, we're going to see really good availability here. Not as good as the Camry, right? Because the Camry is full hybrid, no longer naturally aspirated, no V6, no inline four, non-hybridized setup. With my estimated starting price for the sedan at $28K, the hatchback probably at $29K, this is where I feel like Honda's not even trying to compete with the Corolla or the Elantra, and rightfully so, because it is more of a performance hybrid like the Prius and like the Camry. So I think this is going to start at 28, 29K. They're not even going to have an entry-level hybrid anytime soon anyways. They're not going to have entry-level hybrid to compete with the Corolla or the Elantra. In the meantime, these models, like the Corolla that I'm driving right now, essentially tops out in the upper 20s. And that's where the Civic Hybrid starts. The Civic is saying, hey, almost as huge MPG, but you get hot hatch or little sports car performance out of it, which is straight up in the Prius's alley. So they're going to be pricing this thing right with the Prius. This is where it gets interesting. Would you be picking a Camry hybrid? It's going to be, I don't know. I think it's going to be easier to get your hands on a Camry hybrid just due to the volume. And there are so many more trim levels of the Camry hybrid than the Civic hybrid. But the Camry, like I said, will top off over $40,000. Of the Civic hybrid will probably top off around $32,000. Remember, it cannot go too far into the Accord's pricing for the hybrid, which is around $33,000 if I remember right. If you need all-wheel drive, the Civic hybrid's not for you, nor is the Elantra hybrid. But the rest of the models on the list, not the Prius Prime. The Prius Prime is kind of a specialty model. It's not even available in like most states. It's a unicorn. It's unobtainium. So this model hurts me because I love this vehicle so much. I think it's a great buy in the base trim, but when I tested it last week, which was around 42, 43K, it's just not worth the money. At 34K, it absolutely is worth the money. And I don't know if this is including destination here, but so I just made a quick list here, and you guys let me know down below how you would rank these vehicles. But in terms of the sportiness and most fun to drive, I think the Civic is going to take the cake. The new Camry, it's a bigger car, so inherently it's typically not as fun to drive. But man, it's made huge strides to make it very enjoyable. Then the Prius, which has a good power now finally. It still doesn't handle great. You have the Elantra hybrid, which handles great, but the engine performance is a dog. And then you have the Corolla here, which is just like the ultimate appliance here on the list. The bang for your buck, that's where I think the Civic's going to fall back. The Corolla, obviously really high. The base Camry, really high on the list. The Elantra hybrid, if you can get a good deal on it, I don't know, maybe I'll change this to 4 because I think the new Civic is worth that price premium. And the Prius, I love the vehicle, but oh man, it's just that vehicle is no longer just a MPG buy anymore. That vehicle's like a sex appeal buy, and it's just hard to find. There's just no Priuses on the market, and I think it's going to be, yeah, if the only thing that matters to you is MPG, low cost of ownership, go get the Corolla hybrid. If you like high MPG and high enjoyment factor, the Civic and the Camry are for you. If you want the car to just make you look sexy, try to find a Prius, but it's pretty much unavailable. And if you get a screaming deal on the Elantra hybrids, it's a good car. It's just that the competition's gotten so good now too. Anyways, I'm going to shut it down. Like, I could just talk about these vehicles forever. They're honestly like my favorite vehicles to talk about. I really like hybrids. I own a 3rd gen Prius. All of these cars are better than my 3rd gen Prius. They're more fun to drive. They're smoother. They're quieter. They're more refined. But my Prius just keeps going, and there's no point for me to replace it when it still gets 50 miles per gallon. You know what I'm saying? And I don't drive it hardly at all. It pretty much just collects dust while I drive press cars, right? So anyways, I'm going to shut it down. I can't wait to see what you guys have to say in light of the competition that the Civic is up against with the new hybrid powertrains. And like I said, wait for my driving impressions, which I think will be around September. So stay tuned for that. All this can change if Honda decides to change the price, and then the bang for the buck could change as well. So anyways, I'll catch you guys in the next one. If you made it this far, I appreciate you. Hit the like button, subscribe for more Honda Acura updates along the way. I'll be driving the new MDX refresh at the end of this month. Wait, it's not June yet. At the end of June, I'll be driving the new MDX refresh. So I'll see you guys here back on the channel for that. And definitely make sure you subscribe for other Japanese, Korean, and industry-wide auto news. I have a Ram 1500 Tungsten that I'm reviewing this week. The truck's pretty cool. It's got a lot of luxury features, so maybe I can kind of do a comparison against maybe the Tundra Capstone. But I'm going to shut it down. Have a great day and peace.